Hi, it's Mia. I was supposed to have a break this weekend. It's Sunday before Memorial Day, and one of the docs that let me, thank you, come to her preceptor hours for observation hours we need for school. She's going to be open tomorrow, and I think she's going to be open the rest of the week. I think she'll let me come in every day if I can, and then I think she'll be gone for 10 days. And I feel like at the rate I was going for about 30 plus or minus, probably more plus weeks, I would have needed 7 hours a week of observation. But if I can pull out like 2 to 3 weeks of 7-hour shifts, maybe like that, instead of 30 weeks, 7 hours a week, it's like 30 days. You can't do 30 days. Actually, you could 30 days, 7 hours a day. Anyways, I was supposed to be at church right now. At 9:30, at 8:30, I went to wake my daughter up. She's supposed to teach Sunday school today. We didn't do it. We've been told multiple times that we don't need to come to that church anymore. And my daughter, my kids will overhear this. I had talked to them about sometimes not being able to do the youth because I had shifts or class at night or test first thing in the morning. We weren't getting home. We do live kind of far. I wasn't getting home till 10 something in the morning or at night, and then I had to be somewhere. We had to leave. There's sometimes I was getting home at 10:30 at night, and then I was putting the kids in daycare at 7 a.m. to go to women's Bible study way out on the way to the mountain. It would take me 1 to 2 hours to get out there. And the thing started at 8, so I'd get there at like 9 and then rush back to class. And when I joined medical school, second year, I had exams at like 9 a.m. So I was going to the Wednesday night, but not going to the Thursday morning. And I actually switched my schedule at one point. And then they changed the Thursday to Tuesday, or Tuesday, I don't know. They switched it around and didn't tell us till like the week. Like, oh, we're so glad you're here. By the way, we switched it to a different day and we wanted to surprise you, or they canceled it, or I don't know what they did. I was like, I just switched and it's hard to switch your schedule. Sometimes you find a friend you really want to switch your schedule, but like if you can't find somebody, because people have their plans and their rides and their preceptor and their clinics already out. So a lot of times some people will they won't be able to switch, and the rooms are filled to capacity. Like they cram it, like they make it like if there's 100 or whatever students, say there's 99 students in 3 classes, they'll jam them 33 students per class. You can't have 34 unless you see somebody drop out of school. Then you could have a 32, and then if someone got put on a wait list, that person's already going to be chosen. So it's like they cram them like exactly the right amount. I don't know how they do it. And occasionally there's wait lists and people will swap or something. Sometimes 8 a.m. class or like a 6 p.m. class. Maybe sometimes those ones will be like have a few spots open. There's one of them I went to, so you absolutely cannot be late. And I went once as a makeup. I don't know why. Anyways, I went. Why did I feel like I went twice? Anyways, all these people showed up late. But in my class, I was late, and I got an excuse, and then I still got in trouble for it. And I thought I maybe could get honors, and showing the excuse, I thought I really was hoping I'd get honors. But I think my exhaustion is showing in my papers and stuff that I'm writing, because I think they're not as good as I think. Sometimes they're good, but sometimes, even if I work hard, if you're exhausted, it's really hard. It's like trying to drive when you're exhausted. It's really hard to do a good job. And sometimes you can pull it off, or drink caffeine, or pull over for a few minutes, but ultimately you're still exhausted. So I have a lot of classes and weird hours. I have clinics. I have people from my church that were coming out here to work. And I asked if they could swing by and pick up my kids, because we live right next to the highway where they need to take to get home. And they're like, oh yeah, maybe we'll do that, maybe not. And it's just like, no, we're not going to help you. And then when my kids were attending the events, my kids don't like eating certain junk food, and they were trying to force them to eat junk food, and they weren't making friends because everyone was so cliquey. My kids were isolated, and I was excited to wait for my son to be old enough to go, so my son and daughter could be buddies, but I don't know what happened. For the past year or so, or less maybe, I have been going to church by myself and leaving my kids unattended, leaving my homework undone, leaving my house a mess. I mean, if I had an inspection today, it would be sad. The pastor says if you do for God the work and attend church, He will supernaturally give you enough time in your week to get everything done, every assignment done. Don't work extra jobs on Sunday if you don't have to. God will have you. I mean, it's not even if you don't work extra jobs on Sunday, because God will give supernatural power to get enough money to pay your bills. I know a lot of people at church, they'll work 7 days a week and come to church. And they getting, I don't know what color it is because I haven't got one since I lived with my ex-husband. He wasn't good at paying bills. Get the red envelope for the light bill. That's like, if you don't pay in so many days, we're shutting off your power. But people at church were getting that. And sometimes you had to be realistic. If you had to work on Sunday, I had a job on Sunday. I was scared to work after church because I thought that was the Sabbath and all this. And for me, it's sometimes a big test that I didn't study for because I have Saturday classes, Sunday classes, and it's like the test is Monday morning. I failed a couple of them on Monday morning, 7 o'clock test. Had to remediate one, and the other one, my quiz scores were good enough that he had made it. So the third term of the class in the series, he made it so that it was a combined score of a certain 70%, and I made it. I mean, the test I was surprised. It was open book, and I spent like 4.5 hours looking up every answer, and I got a 69%. I'm like, I found out the first time they'd marked a bunch of them wrong. At least 5 questions. And the teacher, I went into office hours, and he said they were all right. But because he wasn't a grader, he wasn't going to change my grade. And after the 5th one, I had been skipping a class to go to his office hours because he's like, there's no way I'm going to meet you any other time. And he had said all of those were right. And by the point of 5 and finding out he's not going to change it, the other ones I looked at the answers before I turned the test up because it was open book. And then I looked up the answers when I had to take remediation because I was mad. I said, finally, at least I'll get, if they repeat questions, at least I'll get those right by looking up the answer. And I looked up every single one of the answers in the notes, and they were all the same as the notes that he wrote. And they marked him wrong. And I failed it. And I mean, I passed the remediation, but I had to have a B. I had to have 10% better grade on the remediation. And it was multiple choice, which we never had. I just hate this extra work. So right now, I was on my way to church. And I have people that aren't Christians or don't go to church, or are Christians and don't go to church. I've had some of these people tell me, don't go to that church. They don't like you. They're mean to you. They tell you not to show up. They tell you can't be a doctor. They tell you can't keep your house clean. They tell you you shouldn't be driving a nice car. I mean, it's scary when you go to, like, stand in line for donations and someone gives your kid a pair of Nikes because you're poor and live in a shelter, and then you show up at church with your kids wearing Nikes and Nike sweatshirts because they got it free somewhere, or you get it at the Goodwill or something. And then people are like, oh, that lady's on food stamps, but her kids are wearing brand name shoes, but my kids are wearing Payless, which actually, we used to only get shoes from Payless because we would get Christmas gifts at one of our shelters, and they would have Payless cards for the kids so that they could get shoes for school or whatever. I don't know, Christmas present. They would give them, like $15 or something. It wasn't very much, but with kids needing tennis shoes and they're growing so fast, we did go to pay less to get the shoes, whatever we could afford, because we didn't have extra money. And any extra money I have now is loan money. So anything I buy, I bought my kid an $8 pair of pants. Who knows how much it's going to cost when I actually pay the loans back. Is it going to be $200 pair of pants? It's kind of creepy. And I'm not trying to... I mean, they're nice khaki and blue pants, or black. He wants all black clothes. It's not... I like him dressing up. And he likes to dress up. And, I mean, because of our race, we get picked on. And I feel like if he can wear a polo shirt and a pair of slacks, maybe someone would treat him and not treat him as much as a troublemaker. It doesn't matter how you dress, but I feel like, I mean, he wears hoodies over everything anyways, but people have not treated me and my kids very well. I'm very disappointed in our society in the U.S. Back to the church thing. Multiple pastors have, especially one youth pastor has, he's a problem with lying and cheating stuff, and he's showed us stealing things. They lie about a lot of things, and I barely talk to the people, and oftentimes I find out what they're lying about, and it scares me because they're raising up our 7 years worth of kids, like from 6th. Actually, they started them at 5th grade all the way up, maybe even till after senior year. So 7 or more years of kids. And I've gotten frightened about some of the illegal behaviors. Because you don't know. Someone's doing, I'm just stealing, I'm not hurting anyone. Or I'm doing this. Or I'm drinking a lot of alcohol. I'm not hurting anyone else, it's just me. But it's like, you don't know if people are into, child pornography. Seriously, you feel like this is the stuff they laugh about and tell you to your face that they're doing, and show you stuff on their computer and stuff that they're lying about. But it's like, who knows what's going on behind closed doors that they're hush-hush about. And then it's like, they're paid staff. And it frightened me. I didn't push trying to get a ride for my kids. I said, if you can take them on the way out there, I'll pick them up at, 8:30 or whatever. But I can't. I was not fighting getting a ride. And they were saying, they always would be like, we could help you. You're a single parent. You're like the only one in our church who would have trouble. We should help your kids to be part of the church. But then they usually say, never mind. We're not going to help you after all. The top of the top, they have refused to listen to my phone messages or my emails and said that they lost them, or that maybe somebody volunteered and deleted them all. That happened for 2 to 3 years. Because I am a single parent and I don't know many Christians, especially like at school or anything. I wanted to tell someone, like, say, hey, I'm trying to move out of some ghetto where people are getting shot into a place that's kind of wild. Can you pray with me or for me and my kids so that we can ask God to guide me to make the right decision? Because once you sign the paperwork, it's like a done deal. It's a legal document. Or once you sign, like I did before I moved out, they made me sign 30 day, I will vacate in 30 days. And they would not, because of the housing program I'm in, they will not allow you, if you didn't find housing, to stay in there, because they will contact the next person on the wait list to take your spot. And then the same housing program will not tell you if you can get the new place until several weeks of inspections and doing my records, like telling me whether or not I am have enough money, and checking my income and verifying my income. And they wait until 24 hours, and then I got denied. They're like, we're sorry, but you make too little money to live in our property. And I was like, for low-income people, why are you going to charge me $1,200 a month to live in a housing community that's overcrowded? And they won't tell you the rent before you move in. They wait until all these places I live, owned by the city, they wait until you sign the lease, and then they'll tell you what the rent is for the place, but then they won't tell you what you have to pay. Like, say, sometimes for the housing, say you pay like $200 a month in daycare, they might take like $40 off. Or, I don't know how it is. They'll take like 10, 20, whatever dollars off your rent because you pay daycare or you pay for your health insurance. Different things. Like, they might subtract certain things. They might not. But you don't know. So it's like, for me, it's like, have no job, get no child support. I had gave my 30-day notice. I have 48 hours to find a place. I have my stuff packed up, and it's not even packed. I'm going to school full-time, working part-time. And then you get a letter that says, your application has been denied. And luckily, by the grace of God, the managers checked into... Though there was more than one denial letter. I got 2 in a month. One, they did a name, say a Jane Doe. They did my first name and a maiden name, which is it's like Smith. It's like Jennifer Smith. That's not my name, but it's like... They did it for this whole county of like over 1 million people. And a whole bunch of evictions came up. And they didn't use the social security number or the birth date. So it's like, I literally had to go to the courthouse and pay money to get copies of these people's files and I was starting to call the management offices because I'm like, I'm black. I'm like, these, most likely in my cities, like, these people probably aren't even black. It's like, I'm going to go and have to go in person and be like, I did not rent your place. And I was like, Belmont. I was like, I don't even live down Belmont. I barely know how to drive there. So I would ask people sometimes, can you pray for me? Because I am kind of taking a leap of faith. I don't want the devil to lie to me and make me end up living in my car with 2 kids and have to live out of a storage unit with all my stuff. I have a lot of stuff, so I would have to pay a lot of money a month for a big one. And I thought it was okay to ask for prayer, especially if I couldn't go. Like, sometimes the women's Bible study, you could call them, or you could show up and they'll make a prayer list and they'll put you on the list. And then you'll say, could you pray for me because I need to make a decision about taking my kid out of daycare. But I had my kid sexually abused out of daycare. I had my kids injured, concussion, twice. Went in the emergency room after 4 hours and then passed out drooling on the floor. Nobody called me. I had a daycare where the kids were alone for 2 weeks, like, unattended. And that was the one where the boy was trying to sexually abuse my daughter. And I had called them and told them, and the boy threatened both of my kids because they tattled. And then this classroom was unattended. And I found out because I was volunteering to do Bible study with them. And nobody showed up for the Bible study, and they canceled, and I didn't know that they canceled, and I was out in the hallway watching the class for about 2 hours. It was like 1 hour. Nobody came in to watch the kids, and they didn't do a background check on me. The doors, kids can run out if they wanted. We were hiding from the kids' dad. It's like someone could come in this church and kidnap someone. Nobody would have noticed. They didn't even peek in the door. And they were in a room, running around, jumping on tables, jumping on furniture. And when I first dropped them off, there was no one in there. And I read my kids a story. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, well, I'm waiting for Bible study. Let me go out in the hall. The manager was on the phone and had soap operas on the TV. And I kept walking. She's like, I kept walking by for an hour. And then there's another lady who used to shake babies and yell at them and cuss at them. And I was like, there's no one in the room. And she looked at me like, who cares? Like, what do you want? And she was just like, I'm shaking babies. I don't have time to talk to you. I was like, whoa. And I was like, your little boy is in there. Don't you care? Like, she's like, no. And this place was feeding my kids rotten food. They were getting, I've gotten food from the food bank that was rotten. They were getting the rotten food from the food bank. serving it to my kids. And one day, the manager's mom was talking to me in the morning, and I kept saying, my son needs to eat breakfast. My son needs to eat breakfast. And the breakfast was over like at 8 or whatever. I kept saying, my son, and she was talking to me and telling me all this stuff and how they belong to the church and all this stuff. And then when I finally got away from her, I said, can my kid eat breakfast? No, look what time it is. I was like, we're putting everything away. And I was like, the milk and everything's still on the counter. Can he have some cereal? No, because you're late. It's like, I've been here half an hour trying to tell you my son eats breakfast. And you're talking to me about all this garbage about how awesome you guys are and how Christian you guys are. And then you wait, and it's almost like they purposely wait. And it's sad when you have a little baby or a toddler who hadn't eaten breakfast, and you rush to daycare in time to get him some cereal, and then they won't give him cereal, and then they give him rotten apples and worms and stuff in them, and rotten green beans, and they were giving them juice boxes that were leaking out the bottom because they were so old. They gave it to me, some leftovers in a bag. They were leaking all over. I had never even seen those things you can keep a long time before they start leaking. You can keep them for like 5 years before they start leaking. So I'm feeling guilty, so I'm talking bad about the church and about Christians, and I don't like my attitude. I have been told that I live too far to come to church, and that my kids aren't going to be able to come to the youth activities because we live too far, and that we need to find a different place to go. And then I have been told by the main pastor, one of them, that I don't call me for anything unless you're in the hospital. And I have been told by the other main pastor, I emailed and said, hey, I had some issues I wanted to talk about. I don't feel comfortable because they said don't even talk to us. And I'm like, I've been here for 10 years. I'm not sure that this is the way it's supposed to be. And they said, we hope you get the professional help that you need, period. And they had thought that the letter wasn't even to them. They thought it was gossip. It says in the Bible, where's my Bible? It says in the Bible, if you have a problem in the church, go to the person you had the problem with. And then if they won't talk to you, go to someone else, another leader, to help them resolve the situation. Because I don't want to leave somewhere I've been for 10 years. And the kids didn't want to go. When the kids started like flaking out about it, I said, let's visit another place. They're like, no, we don't like to change, you know. So I don't know what to do. This morning, I weighed in on it was 9:30, church starts at 10. I felt like God was just like, get in the car, get in the shower, get dressed, and go. And you'll be like 5-10 minutes late. I looked outside, because I thought my car was still in it. I don't know, maybe that was a different time. I couldn't see it in the peak hole. I looked outside, my neighbor's door was open. She has a dog. She had a baby gate on it. I went over there. Everyone was like watching TV in blankets. I was like, ooh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to. And then I knew she had visitors. She said, oh no, the visitors had gone on an errand. And I said, I'm not trying to wake you. I just want to know the name of this church. Something Rock. All I can remember is Rock. And we didn't look it up. I was like, she goes, come in. And I didn't want to say it in front of her kids. And I didn't know, some of her relatives are Muslim. I didn't know if I wanted to shout, hey, what's the name of that church again? So I was like, I need to get this address for your website for you, or whatever. She's getting out of her blanket. They were watching TV, and she had come over and said, because she goes, come on in, take your shoes off, whatever, you know. I had to climb on a stupid gate. And I was just like, I didn't want to say it in front of the kids because I didn't know if there's anyone else in the house, the relatives. And I said, Rock, something tired. And then they're like, solid rock. I think that's what they said. And they're like, we want to go, Mom. Like the little girl's like, I want to go today. Can we go today? And then the other boy they started looking it up on their phone. And I was like, they don't even go to the church. And they heard me say it way over by the front door, and they were really excited. And so they're already going somewhere, and they said, let's meet back here at 5 and go. Follow each other over, or use the GPS to find it. And I feel like God had wanted me to go to my church and not allow somebody to tell me you can't come to your church. I've been there longer than they have. Some of these leaders. It doesn't matter who's been there longer. But I feel extremely guilty. Last week the kids had a birthday party, just me and the 2 kids. They had made cupcakes right when it was time to go. And they had got up and played together. My son hasn't played together in 6 months. Which I think 4 months ago he might have come down. I'm talking months. It used to be, normal people, even if their kids are introverted, they will come out and sit on the couch or watch TV or sit at the table and eat. This kid will isolate 100% except for use the bathroom, look to the fridge, look at the food, just hungry. I felt extreme guilt last week, and I felt like I tried to tell people at the church that I was having struggles with my kids and I need to talk to someone. I'm all alone. I need to tell someone what's going on and have them pray for me. And I didn't have a lot of time. I'm not going to call you every day and bug you. I wanted to one time tell you, here's what's going on. And then they said, well, don't even call us. Too bad. You're doing well. You lost weight and you're in med school. You're fine. So don't talk to us about it. And then one day they tried to say, oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Because I was sitting in the back or coming in late. They're like, how's your son? I was like, well, he's been in his room for several months. Not going to school, not doing anything. We're trying to get counseling, but we can't. We're waiting on a wait list. She's like, I go, and somebody called the state on us. She's like, do you want me to call the state? I'll call them right now. Why would you call the state? Why can't you sit down and talk to us? And then I was like, if it was me, I would stop by their house and knock on the door and be like, hey, can we come in and visit or see your boy? Can we come over and talk to your boy? Or can your kids come to my house and try to get out of their, they try to tell my kids are very bad because they're introverts. My daughter got 3 test scores back. Excellent. Exceeding standardized test. Science, math, and reading. And my son will get 1, usually reading. Because he's messy with his arithmetic. He actually, I think those tests take 2 hours. One time he did it in like 10 minutes. The teacher made him redo it. I bet you he probably got a better grade taking it in 10 minutes because his brain will be like, you know how if someone's autistic or something, like Rain Man, his brain will do it like that, and if you write it on paper, he writes sloppy, he will miss it by skipping steps and stuff. I bet you he probably got a better grade the first time. They made him redo it and take a long time and do scrap work and all that, scrap paper. So I went and ran a mile. Walked a half a mile at the neighbors. They had a treadmill. I never noticed. And I watched some TV with them, played with their dog, and then I came back home. I feel extremely guilty. The pastor said, you miss 1 day, then you miss 2 days, then you get out of habit, and then you turn away from God, and you become a homeless prostitute on drugs. Basically, so that's what happens to everyone who did that. Someone said something to them, they got offended by it, and they festered, and they got angry, and then they quit the church. And look at all the help we gave that family. And we gave them housing, and we gave them food, and we gave them, gave their kids some socks or something, But it's really hard. I've gotten festering. I've gotten many angry issues. And I just kept coming back. He said, they're human, whatever. I could say something that hurt someone else's feelings. For instance, I said something about wool. Someone's like, you don't want to wear wool in the summertime because it's too hot. But I was like, actually, in the military, they use wool blankets because in the winter, wool is cool or hot to help you stay warm, but it's also, in the summer, helps take away the heat. And then it's like, later on I learned that wool takes in moisture and lets out moisture, which could actually help your room stay at an even humidity based on the changes in humidity. Because it's different when you were like actually living outside in a tent or something. There's a lot of humidity in the morning, no matter even in the middle of summer. But in the house, it kind of gets like stale. But no, I said that and I looked at the person. They probably thought, what a jerk. I don't want to tell kids the wrong thing. And because I was talking about sheep, and I started saying I want to have a sheep farm to little 2-year-olds. Anyways, I felt rude. I felt bad. And that person really never even talked to me. Supposed to be like once in the past 10 years. So I have got angry. People might have got angry at stuff I say. But most of the time I just let it go and got offended and went in and just said, I'm going to treat them like I want to be treated. No matter how they treat me. But it's hard when someone says, don't come. Don't bring your kids to you. Your kids are troublemakers because they stay home and study and stay with mom. And don't run all wild in the streets, making noise and messing with people. So I felt bad, but I kept going. But then it's been multiple times they say, you live far away, don't come. Here, go find somewhere near where you live. It's like getting kicked out of a family. I spend more time with these people than I have with my own family, who are back east, thousands of miles away. I've gone to picnics, I've gone to volunteer, camping, different things. I'm scared. Because I don't want to be scared into thinking, if you don't come here, you're gonna die of AIDS or something. They're trying to make you feel guilty. So they already saying you destroy your family's life. They're gossiping about my kids because they're past, that they're going to be idiots and not know anything. So when my son's staying in the room, they're like, see, I told you. It's your fault because you're past. I'm just like, my kids are mad geniuses. Like, I'm in med school and my kids help me. And they have better grammar than me. And I'm like OCD about grammar and about, taking English classes and literature classes. I got honor award in speech class. And I'm not saying that I'm the best. It was just a small school, and it was actually a surprise because I did a really bad speech one day about who cares about life. All we do is work and die. She was like, you need to redo that speech. So I probably did it about like Nazi Germany or something, or like the Titanic or something. And then I would make like props, like cut out cardboard and make like sinking boats and stuff. I know what I did for Nazi Germany. Did I do one about poltergeist too? I don't know. There's some kind of worker out here. What's this? It's got like a strap. It looks like the fire department. It can't be the fire department. I'm gonna get the... Yeah, it does look like... It's wearing like a white or a shirt with something written on it. It looks like he has a fire hose and he's putting it over the fence. It's so weird. I never know. It's Sunday. But I feel like extremely guilty. Because part of the guilt comes from not going. Today's tithe offering day for me on my schedule. I'm not paying it right now. Part of me is feeling really guilty, and a couple of times I was sick. I'm sick right now, actually. But a couple of times I was in a position where I feel sick and I miss the church. And I had been neglecting my kids because I was driving across town and running errands and getting home. They were sleeping all day. And a couple of times, like last weekend, I took care of my kids, made breakfast. My daughter made her own cupcakes for her birthday. It's rare for her to get up off her butt and do stuff. And she doesn't know how to cook. And the dishes are usually a lot like messy. I have juicers and stuff on the counter, so it's hard to find counter space. She was able to do all that. And then I'm gone every day. They say God is supernaturally repowered. I'm gone at class every day, all day. I'm so sorry to be gone all weekend at class and all this stuff. And then I'll feel like sometimes on a Sunday, I don't sleep in, but it's like, we had my friend gave me a side of beef that I put in the freezer, and I didn't think it was thawed out yet, and because I missed church and came home from my neighbors, I opened it and took everything apart, because I wasn't in a hurry to be somewhere. It was blood all over the fridge, so I had to take everything apart and clean it, and that's unsanitary. And all our vegetables it was on one side of the fridge, but all the vegetables were potentially about to get beef blood all over them. And then that stuff, they're festering into my refrigerator. So, I'm not trying to say, I just took it out of the freezer 2 days ago, but I thought it was still frozen. And I was like, I better put it in a bowl. But it's stuff like that where I rush around every day trying to go to school so that we can pay the bills, because I am the responsible person for my kids as far as their care and finances go. If I don't go to school and work, I will not have a roof over my head. And I need to clean up. It's just unsanitary to have a mess and ignore it because I'm rushing around trying to do all this stuff that I feel guilty about not doing. Now, school is almost done. I know the pastors would, if I were to talk to you right now, they were going to say, you go to school all the time, you should take some time off so you can make sure that you're cleaning your fridge and taking care of your kids and going to church regularly. If I was on vacation, no one would say anything. If I was back east, no one would say anything. I would just be gone, and I would be on vacation. But because I'm at home, I feel this overwhelming guilt. I used to call them and say, hey, we're sick today, we're not going to come in, please pray for us, or we're on vacation for 2 weeks, please pray that we have a safe trip, see you when we get back. But when they tell you not to call them, you're just like, okay, I'm not even going to tell them. And I have told them that I have weekend classes a lot, and then they come in and start yelling at me saying, you need to be here because you're ruining your life. And everything you tell me is a lie. And I'm just like, I haven't talked to you in a month. And it's I try to wait after church to talk to people and say hi, and they just stare at me like this. Hi, how are you? Because I don't want to be the needy single mom. It's oh, how's your life? How's your dog? How's your house? And they're just they don't even answer me. So I'm maybe they're highly medicated, and they just were using their energy to drive home. But I do feel, I will tell you the truth, I feel guilty. I almost went to 11 o'clock service up the street, but I also do not like that church. And I feel what goods, I'm not going to take my kids and follow them into hell. But, not that that's happening, but if it's a serious situation where the kids want to attend and I go by myself, I feel I'd be better off taking a couple weeks to go to this rock place. Don't go to the one. I went to the other one several times. People were really rude and really mean to me. I was going to join it, and they were not letting me. I was going to sign my kids up for youth. They would refuse to talk to me. I waited an hour to talk to the youth leader, and she stared at me and was talking to someone else. And they knew someone interrupted her to say this lady wants to put her kids in the youth, and she lives close by, just moved into the neighborhood, and she refused to talk to me. And she couldn't even give me, can you write your number down so we can talk about it? She just glared at me like I was an axe murderer. I felt really bad. And that's not the first time something like that happened at the church that's really close. It's close enough my kids could, if I was on a weekend class, they could walk in 15 minutes. It's unfortunate. So I feel extremely guilty. Last week all I did was pray and cry all day because I felt like God's going to punish me because I didn't attend. And I watched a preacher in the morning. I was getting ready to actually go to church last week. And he had said a bunch of wonderful things. I had looked up all the Bible verses and wrote it down and told my daughter about it. And felt like it's not replacing being there in person. So last time somebody quit the church, they they had said they were going to quit because they gave this family so much and they had a nerve to quit. But they didn't actually quit. The guy said that they wanted some changes with something, and he was angry, and then he said, well, if stuff doesn't change in the next month, we're going to attend another church. And the pastor said, well, you need to leave. If you're already planning on going somewhere else, then this is your last Sunday. Goodbye. And I know they had kicked many other people out. And telling me that me and my kids don't belong and that we need to find another church. I tried to report this to the main pastor. I mean, if I want to drive 3 hours to get to church in youth, no one has a right to tell me you can't come. But when they tell you that several times and then they don't invite your kids to the activities and they don't treat your kids like they do the other ones, I feel like, why should I go? I should find a place where the family can be loved and we can love others. And I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm looking for a place that will accept us and let us sit down in their seat without telling us we don't belong and that we need to go somewhere else. And don't even call us, don't email us anymore. They said, we're not going to help you at all. We're not going to talk to you, we're not going to help you. It hurts. I was going to pull up the emails today and say, listen, like, shh, why are you feeling guilty? Look what they said to you. It's sad. It's like, why are you feeling guilty? They said this to you, and then you want to fight them and say, I will too come to church and pay my tithes and volunteer and do this and pick up garbage, cigarette butts on the side of the road. And buy a t-shirt for $25. I can walk around and say, look what church I'm from, picking up cigarette butts on the side of the road. I've done all that. And I did it, and I felt like it's good to have fellowship with fellow believers of the same faith. But we are getting, there's a lot of weddings and a lot of parties and housewarming parties. We haven't got invited to one of them. And I'm not saying that is not even anything to do with the church. But it's kind of sad when you're the only one that's not invited. Like baby showers. It's like, I've known this lady for 7 years. They didn't even invite me to the baby shower or to the housewarming. I'm like, it's like, oh well, I'll stay home and eat salad. So that's where I am today. I would have loved to just be in a routine and gotten up and gone to the church. And done my duty and paid my tithes and had my daughter do Sunday school. But I ended up going to the neighbors and then not coming back and then trying to say I'm going to go to 11 o'clock at a place I don't like. I mean, I had gone to that place about, 5 or 6 times at this location. Took my kids and then I went to their main campus about several days, 3 years of conferences, and that's where my church, they'd be like, tell us how many people are coming, call us, tell us you're coming, we'll save you a seat. And every time I'd show up, they'd be like, these 7 seats are taken, you can't sit here. I'm just like, I told them I was coming, they're serious. Like, no, sorry. I'm like, this thing starts in 3 minutes. Why can't I sit here? Like, no, it's too bad, sorry, we're saving it for this person, this one, not you. They do that every time. And then I would be sitting in the back next to some stranger, eating lunch by myself. And usually I'd find some little lady that was all alone and be like, how's your trip? How did you drive here? I love those type of people. And I mean, I want to end up being that person, just be like, screw you, I'm going to go to this conference, whether you save me a seat or not. And I'm going to learn something from it, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to feel the strength of numbers of fellow believers. And I just don't want to be like that. I want to be part of the group, but I'm not going to let. What my problem is this past few months is I'm letting this stuff that they said to me make me feel guilty, make me feel isolated, and make me feel like they're right. It's my attitude that's causing this stuff to happen. But if I was a doctor, which I will be, And I told my patient, don't call, don't come back, go somewhere else. Don't make an appointment, don't even talk to me. And then when they're there, everything they say, I tell them, you're lying. You don't have foot pain, you don't have headaches. Oh, these labs, you must have used someone else's blood. You don't have glucose, you don't have hypoglycemia or whatever. That's how I feel there. And then the patient still giving me money. I'm taking it, cashing it, buying a new car, buying a new house, buying new furniture, buying cars for my kids. And then it's like, don't come back. And that patient just wants to keep coming back and giving me money. That's how I feel. I feel like it's insanity. It's really hard to feel. I feel like I'm obligated to keep attending this place. And not one person has called to say, hey, I know they think I have a bad attitude because they told me I had a bad attitude. They told me that I lie about racial things, that I am delirious, make this stuff up, and waste all my time feeling sorry for myself. That's what they tell me in the parking lot. And I finally stood up to myself. I'm like, that is not true. Like, it happens to all of us. Like, who cares? I'm not focusing on it. If I mention something happened, it's because somebody said something to my face about my race, and they treat me differently because of it. That's done and gone. I learned in my 12-step programs that, I went to Al-Anon, I went to these different groups. I had abusive ex-husband who was on drugs, a parent that was on alcohol. It's like, you do those 12 steps and they tell you, let go and let God. And I learned more through those, program, Al-Anon and that, than I learned. I'm not saying I learned more, but I learned it really fast in a 12-step group. And the church is like, after 10 years, it's like, oh, they're like, people that aren't Christians, they don't do this, they don't forgive and forget, they don't ask God to guide them to do their will. And it's like, I know a lot of non-Christians that have been doing that, I have called, and they say, what you need to do right now is pray for that person and forgive them and say the Lord's Prayer and say the Serenity Prayer and journal about it and call somebody and ask for support and come to a support group with other people, Al-Anon or whatever, and talk to them. And so I have a hard time when people preach, these people don't know how to behave because they're evil. But it's like, I learned a lot. These people may not call themselves Christian, or they may call themselves Christian, and we just don't see them in the church. But they are following. Every one of those 12 steps is biblical. Even if the people are atheists, they're still praying to God. I have atheist friends that told me pray to God for them. So they still believe. There's just something that's blocking them in a language way, but inside they know the truth. So I've kept you long enough. I don't want to upset my kids by talking about this. So I'm feeling very sorry that I have to share this with you. I would share this with the people that I have the problem with or other leaders, but they are all telling me that I have the problem, and maybe I do. So pray for me to be guided in the right place. Maybe I do have the problem, and I am way off my rocker, and I will sin. Maybe I'll be back in the church next week, fellowshipping among other believers. But until then, I'm going to ask God to guide us, and we're planning on, in less than 5 hours, we're planning on going to rock something up the street. And then just, well, even if I have to go by myself, if the kids don't go, the neighbor don't go, even have to go by myself. That's how I'm going to say it right now. Okay, bye-bye.